And we're live.
Think about humans.
Humans, man. Okay, I think we're going to get started. If folks in the hallway want to grab a seat, we've got some more here. Welcome, everybody, to the Open Government Hack Night. This is episode number, let's check, I think 131. So we've done this 130 times before already. We'll get it right this time for sure. If you haven't been here before, this is Chicago's weekly place to build, share, and learn about civic tech and open data. As a show of hands, whose is it their first time here at the Hack Night? Welcome to all the new folks. We always love to have new folks. So if any of this OpenGov civic tech stuff doesn't make any sense to you, Christopher runs orientation session after the presentation that you're welcome to join. It's kind of like a 15-minute spiel on like this whole thing. So if you guys are interested in joining that, we'll announce all the different breakouts afterwards as well. But just previewing that for you guys. So tonight we have some special presenters. There's a group, they're sitting over here, that worked on an app called mRelief that I guess is today the official launch day, or maybe it's been kind of half launched-ish.
Yeah.
Okay. You're going to hear about this awesome app that these ladies made. Huh?
Whenever you feel like going to mRelief.com, just go to it.
Just go to it. So you're going to hear all about how they made it and the process behind it. I won't give any more away than that. I'll leave that to them. But before we get to the presentation, we have a few things we like to do as far as following our agenda. The first one is we like to have everyone introduce themselves. So we'll go around the room shortly, and everyone can say their name and what their interests are, and a sentence or so about yourselves. And then after that, we'll have an open floor for announcements. If anybody has anything they'd like to share with this group, events or news-related things, or apps that have come out, or anything that is sort of civic tech or OpenGov related. It's also become sort of a forum for people to announce job openings and also that they are seeking jobs too. So you're welcome to do that as well. And then we'll get to the presentation, and then after that we'll break out into different groups, which we have different topic facilitators that run different groups for the Hack Night. And then the rest of the night is yours to do with what you will. Is there anything else before we get into the intros? Okay, great. So I'll start with the introductions, and then we'll kind of just go around the room. So I'm Derek Eater. I'm a partner at DataMade, a local civic tech company here in Chicago. Organizer for this event, and I like to make stuff with open data.
My name is Christopher Whitaker. I am a civic technology consultant here in Chicago. I do a lot of work with the Smart Chicago Collaborative and with Code for America.
I'm Marina Goldstein. I am a product designer at Braintree, and I am also the product designer of mRelief.
Hey everyone, my name is Afriyie, and I am project manager of mRelief.
I'm Ellie. I'm the technology director for Trans Tech Social and the founder and lead developer of Women of Code.
I'm the technical part for mRelief.
Yeah. I split up my week in small chunks, so I tend to do a lot of other things, but those are things that I remember.
My name's Eileen McFarland. I'm a paralegal for the Legal Assistance Foundation, and I'm not on the mRelief team, but I enroll people in public benefits, so I'm very excited to see how this develops. Knowledge to the people.
Robert Van Ast, I'm a policy fellow in the mayor's office.
Before you go, right. Carl Fogel, partner at Open Tech Strategies. We help organizations launch and run and participate in open source projects.
I'm Quentin Hollis. I am a budget analyst at the City of Chicago. I'm Daniel Hertz. I'm a student at the University of Chicago.
My name is Stephen Vance. I'm a transportation reporter for Streets Blog Chicago.
I'm Steve Rankiewicz. I'm a content strategist, longtime civic data user, and a neighborhood blogger.
My name is Justin Manley. I'm a developer and a student at the University of Chicago.
I'm Desmond Naranjo, UIC industrial design student. My thesis is alarmingly similar to what you guys are about to talk about, and I really hope all my ideas aren't already accomplished.
I'm Dennis Rorty. I'm a freelance developer of software, pretty much any kind of data work. Interested in work if anybody has any consulting work or full-time jobs.
I'm Nina Sandlin. I'm with Illinois Health Matters. It's an Obamacare outfit here in Chicago. I do data things for them.
I'm Emily Melber. I'm also with Illinois Health Matters and Health and Disability Advocates. I'm a health policy analyst. I'm also a social worker, so I'm very excited to hear about this.
I'm Gino Bernardi. I'm really interested in electric vehicles, and I'm working on advancing the adoption of them in the city of Chicago.
I'm Linda Zavers with Honorary Chicago. I'm the, I guess, self-styled biographer and cartographer of the brown honor street signs that are all around the city. And so,
Dave Lewinsky, Java architect for the STA group, and I'm interested in data and co-ops.
Maliki Thorvin, I'm a software developer.
Chris Ishmael, I'm an actuary at an insurance company, and new to Chicago.
I'm Sarah. I work in developing and sell jewelry and handbags. And my friend Joe brought me here.
I'm Joe. I know Sarah. She works there. I'm interested in what you guys are up to. I'm just, that's about it. Interested citizens, stay home dad.
My name is Chris Housley. I'm an architect. I work with the city through building permits and community meetings. And just interested in what this is all about.
Hi, my name is Rahul Singhal. I am a startup junkie, so I'm using a lot of meetings to see what's going on.
Hi, I'm Zach Taylor. I'm a recent Dev Bootcamp grad, so I'm trying to work my way into software development. And I'm kind of a politics nerd, so maybe something here might be interesting.
I'm Ryan Stelly. I'm a full stack developer working in .NET right now at Spotlight. We do benefits enrollment for employers, and we do a lot with eligibility, so I'm excited to hear about this.
Maybe we can swing back. Let's swing back over here, James. Yeah, you.
Hi, I'm James. I do applied topology.
Hey, I'm Declan Fry. I'm the developer at a company called Purple Binder. We're an app for finding social services. And we'll be making a brief cameo as part of this presentation. So you'll hear more about this.
Hi, I'm John. I work with an investment fund, but may be interested in switching into something else.
Hey everyone, my name is Matt. I work at UFC, Institute for Policy and Civic Engagement.
I'm Janice Thompson, and I'm interested in public engagement and energy efficiency. I'm Audrey. I'm interested in data science and data journalism.
Brandon Smith. I'm building a secure job system for anonymous whistleblowing in Chicago. I'm a journalist, written about social justice and environment stuff.
I'm Kenneth. I'm the strategy and developer at Blue 1647, tech incubator in Tulsa.
I'm Joseph Flesh. I'm one of the founders of Purple Binder, and I'm psyched about solving social problems with technology.
my name is Monique Windar. I'm a student at the Startup Institute in the technical marketing track with an interest in civic and web tech.
Hi, I'm Nate Williams. I'm one of the founders of Flex.io, and I'm interested in data preparation and making data projects super efficient.
I'm Josh Kalov. I'm an open data developer, interested in education data, and also currently working with Cook County government on their open data.
Hi, I'm Kathy Day. I'm a developer at Datamate.
Did we miss anybody? Folks in the hall who want to say hi?
Josh, I'm a database administrator at the EPA.
Cool.
My name is Renee Pacha. I'm a translator and new developer. So I'm also the topic facilitator for Code Clinic. So come see me afterwards if you like. Thank you.
All right, great. So thanks for everybody for introducing yourselves. We'll move on then to the announcement section. So this is again this open floor for anybody who wants to share events or news-related things or job openings or anything sort of civic tech, OpenGov related. So Somebody? Oh, yes, you have one.
Yes.
Please,
Yes.
please.
Yes. So at the consulting company that I work with, many of the developers belong to special interest groups inside the company, and just to kind of develop our skills and build out the practice. And I'm involved with the big data practice, or special interest group. And someone mentioned this to me today, which I never heard of, the IBM Hadoop Big Data for Social Good Challenge. So $40,000 in prizes. And the idea is that you have to take a data set. They have a number of official data sets. They have to be, I can't remember what the size, like 400 megabytes to 7 gigabytes or something like that.
Oh, they've classified what big data is?
Yes.
They're not
And so you have to use IBM. They have like a cloud-based.
You have to sign in, okay.
Thing.
Okay.
So anyway, yeah, it's in there somewhere.
Oh, here's some monies.
Yeah. So
bank.
one of the official data sets, but you can use your own. They have a lot of transit, Ebola. I can't remember what other ones. There's like a number of them. You can probably find it in here somewhere. Data page.
Oh, sorry, is there a
near
data?
the-
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, this one. I gotcha. I'm
Yes.
with you.
Data set
Aha.
requirement, 500 megabytes to 7 gigabytes.
All right.
IBM told
Wait, so beyond 7 gigabytes, that's too big?
Too big.
Okay, it's too big data. Okay.
And part of it is they're hosting it, so I guess they have a limit of how much they want.
Okay.
So, oh yeah, so there's New York City 311.
Ah,
so they're in
okay.
New York, not
Gotcha.
Chicago, but we can fix that. City
Yep.
bike, not Debbie. So, anyway, I thought this was very appropriate. So, there's first off, now you know, if anyone here is interested in this, they might be able to earn some money and notoriety. The other thing is, within my company, I'm trying to advocate that we should work on one of these for our big data project. So if you look at this data and you think, oh, I have a really good big data idea that I would like to get some grizzled veterans to work on for free, come see me. Cool. Thank you.
Great, thank you for sharing. Any other announcements anyone would like to make? Yeah, Linda.
Honorary Chicago in honor of Veterans Day. Actually, you can go to the website.
Oh, Honorary Chicago?
honorarychicago.com/events. I've put together a list of people who have both honorary streets and who are veterans. And just a couple of them that you might know or might not know of. There's Veteran Street, POWMIA Avenue, POWMIA Way, Private First Class Milton Lee Olive III. If you've seen Olive Park, it's and of course, Captain Lovell of NASA, the Apollo program.
Wow.
But also Ed Paschke, artist. Jesse White, our Secretary of State. Mike Roco, who is a Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist. And Henry Ford II. And Ray Kroc of McDonald's.
Wow.
So, among others.
How did you find, did you just look up all of these?
This was just out of my research. Well, the ones that have captain or something in their name is
That's obvious, right?
Yeah, that was the first one. But then I searched through my data set for Army, Navy, Marines, and military. But even in the course of doing my research, there are a lot of people.
Yeah.
And this isn't even a full list, but it might be the largest, single. It's definitely one of the larger single slices.
Oh, like cool points of, yeah, wow. Great. Awesome, thanks for sharing. This is great. So it's honorarychicago.com/blog.
Oh, it's blog.
Yeah. That's great. Thanks for sharing that. Any other announcements? Yeah.
I know one. The next meeting of the Open Gov Chicago group is going to be, that's not what I want to do. It's going to be Thursday, November 20th, and we're going to be talking about the Chicago Park District Advisory Council. And you can find out more information about that on our meetup group at meetup.com/OpenGovChicago. And then the Open Gov Chicago holiday party is going to be Thursday, December 11th. at the Cultural Center. It's free, it's open. So if you go to the Google group, you can also find out, you can also sign up for that.
Oh, what's up? Cool.
I've been confused. Can you compare and contrast Open Gov Chicago to Open Government Hack Night?
Sure. So OpenGov Chicago started in 2009, and it met mainly to talk about sort of the broad policy things. So whereas in OpenGov Hack Night, we actually do work, OpenGov Chicago is much more of the sort of the big presentations and question and answer and more of the policy stuff.
Yeah, I would like to, I kind of refer to OpenGov Chicago as sort of the parent, like the granddaddy organization, like the first meetup, right? And since then, many meetups have actually sort of spawned in Chicago. There's this one, there's the Chicago Data User Group, there's Chicago Data Visualizations Group, so there's quite a few other ones, but this is actually the first one that I ever went to, was the OpenGov Chicago meetup. Yeah, so it's great. It's a great event. You guys should go to it. And the holiday parties is the third year in a row?
11th.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry,
this is the third year in a row,
The
yeah.
third of the holiday parties, right? So. On the 11th.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't have a question about this. I wanted to
announce something.
Yeah.
Announce something.
Yes, please.
Maybe some of you are familiar with SecureDrop. It's the system that Aaron Swartz built shortly before he died. It's a system for anonymous whistleblowing, very secure, like PGP, Tor, like lots of very secure things go into it. It's kind of like at the level of the CIA or Defense Department security, right? So I just wanted to mention that we're almost done with our build, and we're looking for ways to get word out about it, because if someone is seen going to our site, then their employers or whoever might persecute them for whistleblowing will know that they're interested in it. So if you guys could, if any of you want to become a whistleblower, or anyone you know, is like, upset with something on the job or something they know and can't find a way to disclose, come see me later, or you'll find out about us somehow. Make sure you direct them to us without tell them not to go to our website. Anything else I need to say about it?
So how would one find your website?
Google is fine. Yeah. Well, so there are probably going to be a few news stories coming out about us once we release to the city. The reader is going to do a little something, and we may break a few stories with some more national, international news outlets. But yeah, you'll hear about us. And
what's the name? What can you say?
Well, we're pretty well set on the name Park Bench, because park benches are where where journalists met their anonymous sources.
Envelopes are mistakenly misplaced.
At first we were like Park Bench and tape. Stick them in. You can see me afterward. I'm also at brandonsmith.com, so that's me.
So we're not supposed to go to your website, but we could happen to stumble upon it?
Well, so if you, here's the thing, if you guys want to blow the whistle on something, don't go to the website, or do it from a library computer that's not attached to your library ID, or do it from your friend's cell phone, whatever.
or go through Tor.
Or use Tor. If you're already a regular user of Tor, you can do that. But if you're not, and you do this right before you blow the whistle, and you're one of 15 people in your office and you're the only one who downloaded Tor.
So your site isn't actually anonymous, it's just...
Well, going to it is not an anonymous thing.
How do you get to it?
Yeah, you have to use Tor to go to our whistleblowing site, but we'll also have a public facing
How
site.
about, what do you think about having a little working group after this, so for people who are interested in knowing more?
You should have that, like,
maybe, because there's probably best practices, I would assume, of like how to go through the process of whistleblowing, right? That are maybe more in depth than for this current forum.
One really quick last note is that it's good for data sets. Because you can't exactly print out a data set and send it to a reporter, or leave it on a report in a reporter's mailbox or something. Anything digital that's natively digital that can't be otherwise really, That's what you use the system for. Previously, prior to this system, it was very complicated to send something to a journalist anonymously. You know, WikiLeaks was there, kind of, but this is now the open source whistleblowing platform maintained by Freedom of the Press Foundation. They have lots of backing. It's very simple.
Do you have plans to make it available for like non-tech users?
Yeah, the system is very simple to use for someone who is not technical. I mean, it's as simple as attaching something to an email.
Cool. Thanks for sharing. Other announcements? I saw that hand first. Sorry. Yeah.
Job okay?
Yeah, sure, please.
I'm not a recruiter. I just wanted to.
Even better.
At Spotlight, we're a fastly growing startup. We're hiring all types of developers and VAs and technical director if you're up there. Full stack web developers. So let me know if you're interested.
Cool. Thanks. Yeah, Joe.
Also, John, Purple Binder would like to establish an ongoing relationship with a freelance graphic designer or UX designer. So if you like working on the kinds of problems we're going to be talking about tonight, then come talk to me or Declan.
I know someone you should talk to.
Awesome.
Cool. Awesome. Are there any other announcements? All right. Well, then I suppose we'll proceed to our feature presentation. Here's mRelief.
Let's get set up here.
Okay, so we'll get set up. I don't think we need this to be on here if possible. I'd like to plug this one in instead.
Actually, while you guys are setting up, just so you guys
do you
know,
want to use your computer?
For those of you who've never been here before, this is a camera, and we record these
Just use that for
presentations.
notes.
And Christopher streams them on the Smart Chicago YouTube channel, which we link to on the Open Gov Hack Night website. And also, all of the presentations are archived. So if anybody wants to see previous presentations, you are free to do that on the Smart Chicago Collaborative website.
Small favor, could everybody go to the Smart Chicago Collaborative website? I was looking at my stats today, and our best day of page views was exactly 666, and I'm superstitious, so I only want like 667 just to get out of the weirdness.
It's all
done.
This site doesn't work.
I think file.
Okay, you guys good? Go ahead.
Yeah, do you want to?
Just sit down there. I don't know if you want to move it to the side a little bit. Wait,
this one? It's
No,
that
this
one.
one.
Yeah. We're just using it on his notes. Okay. Oh wait, but it's not me.
I can't see
Sorry.
it. Yeah.
Not bad.
Can you all reintroduce?
Yeah, we will introduce at the top. Well, we
Hold
just
on
make
one
sure we're
second.
all-
Sorry. I need to mirror this.
Okay. All right.
Cool.
Cool. You good? Okay. Awesome. Hey everyone. Really excited to be here tonight. My name is Afriyie, and I'm project manager of mRelief. And mRelief is an app that helps people figure out their eligibility and access to government benefits and resources. And if you are ineligible for government benefits and resources, you're directed to a local resource through our awesome partnership with Purple Binder. So I also want my colleagues to also introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Marina Goldstein, and I am the product designer for mRelief.
I'm Ellie Day, and I'm the technical advisor. And then we have the CTO, Genevieve Nielsen, who's building homes in
New Orleans.
Yes, right this second.
First you meet here.
And this is also Eileen, who works with another partner of ours, LAF. She's been helping with research for cash assistance programs as well. So we're excited that she's going to be helping out with their presentation as well. Okay, awesome. So we're here today specifically around this time to have this conversation because we have recently had our tool integrated into the workflow at community service centers in the city of Chicago. And community service centers are sort of one of the first places that people who are experiencing some type of issue financially that would lead them to need some sort of government benefits. And so first, I just want to give you an overview of what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to start the presentation by talking a little bit about why we came to this work, why it was really important among all the different things that you can use software to solve, why we think social services is worth it. Then we want to talk a little bit about the statistics, the context and the background around why we took the route that we've taken with mRelief. Then we want to go to talk about how specifically mRelief is solving the issue of social service delivery with our app. Then we'll actually go through our demo and show you that. I promise this is not going to go on for like hours and hours, but just kind of getting through here. Then, most importantly, we want to talk about the partnerships that have made this possible, because social services is huge, and we really think that we tried our hardest to strike a balance with being innovative and starting something new, but at the same time really recognizing that a lot of awesome things are already going on in this space in Chicago, and this has been a great opportunity to amplify that work as well. And then finally, it's important to talk about the next steps, where we're actually going to go from here afterward. So before you actually go, I just first want to talk a little bit about my own personal background and why social services was particularly important for me in coming to this work. So I was born in the Bronx, New York. I'm not a Chicago native, but have slowly adopted it as my second home. I was raised in a housing project in the Bronx, and my family, I have 4 siblings, and my family partially supported ourselves through the Women, Infants, and Children program, which is a program for moms who have infants and children and need just a little bit of resources in terms of food and assistance to help them along. And so for me, this was very personal in some ways. But something that happened is through a lot of the hard work of my family, and also the help that we received growing up, I was able to go on and study politics. And so my background is in political science and public policy. And most recently this year, I have learned how to code, and I'm still learning a whole bunch, because you're never really all taught when it comes to software. And so this is a really awesome opportunity to fuse these worlds of software as well as public policy. And so that brought us to the open government environment. Yes. And so the thing that we like to say over and over again is that mRelief is a success story of this place right here, because many of us, as part of our first foray into into software through the Starter League, because Marina, myself, as well as Genevieve, are alumni of the Starter League Web Development Program, we started attending a lot of meetups in the city. And this was one critical place that we came where we found a home to both talk about just using software, as well as some of the things that have to do with government that are affected by software. So it was here that we first had an open call that we received through the mayor's innovation delivery team to talk about how they were having so many challenges with social services. So some of those challenges included things like rental assistance was a program that received almost 10,000 applicants a year, though only a few hundred people actually qualified. So there was something of a bottleneck in many of the community service centers, because there were so many people applying to that program. Other things was just that food stamps had an influx of so many people applying. And so it was a really awesome opportunity for us to be in the open government space and first talk to them as politicians and policymakers, and also us as people who knew that there were initial things that we could do to perhaps make this process easier. So going to the next. So I think the first approach that we did was kind of look through at least some of the landscape around like how bad is this problem, what's kind of going on. So if you can go to the first bullet. So I think first and foremost, we knew we had to start with food stamps. It is the largest safety net program administered in the state of Illinois, and also in many parts of the country. And we know that 25% of people are right now not being served by that program. And in part because the city at least started to explain that it's really complicated. And also, in a lot of ways, the lines are really long for people when they go, and some people just really give up. And then other things, and you could just Sorry, no, it's okay. And then we started looking at other parts of the system that we think are important to mention as well. And that is that people who have disabilities have also had challenges in interacting with the system. Yes, on the social services side, but also when we talk about the actual benefit side. Even though a lot of the data shows that people with disabilities make $15,000 or less. So, next slide. Okay, you could just kind of go through all that. So another thing that we also thought about when we were innovating is who is our population? Who are we serving in a lot of the places that we're trying to make social services more accessible? And I think the number one thing that we kind of kept coming to is that non-internet users would be key. In part because we were really paying attention to some of the things that led to the failure of the rollout of healthcare reform. And some of the things that they sort of changed or tried to update along the way. And one of those things was that email was really critical to getting Obamacare in the sort of early stages, right? And for a lot of people, that was an initial hurdle because they had never been on email, right? And it was really important for them to have another path if they were going to successfully really be onboarded to the program. And so we wanted to build that in, not just because of obviously, 64% of Illinois residents were non-smartphone users, and we wanted to include them. Also because we knew that text messaging had a really, really high read-receipt rate, something as high as 90%. And that's an older step, but we also have been seeing a lot of validation of that with the Code for Health team for Code for America, as well as just our own personal work on the south side of Chicago, just asking people and talking to people about how they communicate with their families and friends every day. So, moving forward. Okay, so now I want to talk to you about sort of the world before mRelief and the major site that we've launched in the King Community Service Center. So, before our launch, it was a really interesting place when you first had to access your social services. So, first and foremost, you heard either through 311, which I think sometimes would direct you immediately to the office, or sometimes they might direct you to something online. But for the most part, you would go to the office not really having a full indication of what you actually qualified for, right? So you would go into that office and sit there and wait. And this is really frustrating and also a huge problem, right? Because every single government benefit that exists right now has eligibility requirements. And there's a threshold. And this is something we found out in doing tons and tons of forms before actually launching it on the site. And not knowing about that threshold can be really frustrating and lead to long waiting times. And then also, time is wasted not just by these caseworkers who should be using a lot of their social services know-how to maybe to maybe process more complex applications. They're kind of doing work that a computer, we found Ruby on Rails software, can do in like seconds, right? And so we really thought that this was a really unique opportunity to merge what we were learning with this process. And something else that I think we really were focused on too is just restoring dignity, right? And the idea that it is an awkward thing to be financially in need and then to be in public and to have to wait really long when you're frustrated and your heart is heavy with a lot of those problems, right? And so often people have to wait during the workday when they should, they could be using that time to engage in more productive tasks. And so we weren't just worried about the real fact of like efficiency, right? But also the human factor, the real issues that people face when they also have to wait on top of everything else, right? So kind of moving, ooh.
Can you give an example of an office one might visit?
So I think the family resource centers, so those are in a lot of the state, that's the first place where people will go to get things like food stamps, for example. But the major site that I think we've had the most experience with is the King Community Service Center. And they have had issues with long wait times, which is why they've been really excited about what I'm about to tell you now. So,
and well, who runs that center?
It's the Department of Family Support Services Center.
From the city or the state?
So that's the city, but I think there's lots of different teams that are working in coordination throughout the city and the state.
Mm-hmm. So it's run by the city, but for example, LAF has about 5 paralegals who work at DFS centers throughout the city.
And Department of Family and Social Services for folks who may not know the acronym. Okay, cool. So, so on October 9th was sort of the first sort of introduction and pilot that we made into the King Community Service Center. And so what that actually means is that instead of just really relying on a lot of the complex math or referencing multiple different tables, that they will actually be able to sit down with a client who is coming in need for services. And they also know by heart at least a lot of the things that you'll see in Marina's section of the demo that are in the popovers. So for example, one thing that you will see again and again on forms is gross monthly income. How much money do you make a month? There are different things that count for something like food stamps, for example, than might count for something like rental assistance. So having a caseworker have that know-how and being able to have access to a form has been really, really helpful for them in that integration. Another thing that we've also been able to be a part of is instead of waiting in line, people can be referred to a kiosk if they're just curious about one program, because the truth is not every single person who comes into a community service center needs everything. It could just be something with respect to rent, or it could just be something with respect to food. And so that's also been helpful. And so we've seen that this has already led to lots of positive results. We've had hundreds and hundreds of sessions since we launched. And a lot of time has been saved on both ends. So we're still kind of waiting to crunch all the numbers about the results. But it's been very optimistic and positive. So next slide. And so before I guess I go, I really do want to lift up Derek, DataMate, and just say that it's because of him and Forrest and his team and mentorship that has really made a lot of this a lot more easier to navigate than it would have been. So, so next up, Marina, our awesome designer, who has made this experience for users so much more beautiful than it possibly could be, is going to tell you a little bit more by showing you the site.
Hi everyone. So we have a demo if you want to just start playing it. This is just a demo of the website, but I'm going to just briefly take you through the design and how we came to our design decisions and some really interesting facts about it. So before I even started helping out with mRelief, we were all at the Starter League together and doing the web development program, and I became really interested in this project because it's super meaningful. It seemed like a real issue with the city, and it was a really good opportunity to use my design skills and kind of like work on my front end developing that I was trying to get better at. So we initially designed it, when I went into this design, we did sketches, we thought about the user, we kind of made it feel more like a marketing website. And then after we did a bit of user testing, we got some really great feedback. And that's when I thought to myself, so my background is in design and user experience, and anytime I start to design, I think of designing for people like you and me, people who use the internet every single day, maybe every single second of the day. And, everything just comes naturally to you. You know what a link is, you know what a button does, you know what a popover does. But then I had to realize that the people that were going to this website were people who don't use the internet every day. They don't even use a computer maybe every month. So we had to really think about that person. And then I began to think about how clear can I be. The last thing I wanted somebody to do was go to this website and be frustrated, because that was the problem we were trying to solve. So if somebody was going to this website and they didn't understand what gross monthly income meant, that means they would just leave the website and feel like they were the failure. So that is why we included popovers, and that's why we included a calculator at the bottom of each form for somebody to easily calculate their gross monthly income. That is why we just streamlined every link to be a button, because we realized that inconsistency led to confusion. And then in the resolution pages to see if you qualified or you didn't qualify for something, we worked with Purple Binder and LAF to get them the results that they needed. So it wasn't just oh, you qualify, now what do? It was like, oh, you qualify for this program. Now you can go to this food pantry and pick up your food. And that is where Genevieve, who can't be here today, that is where she really excelled with creating all the information using Ruby, Rails, just making sure everything was right and everything made sense. Another couple things that the website is. Oh, I mean, if you guys want to see it again. But also just the look and feel. It needs to be welcoming and fun. Just, illustrations, clear language. It's also fully responsive. So if somebody does have a smartphone and they go to the website, it'll be clear and you can fill out the form just as well as you could on a desktop. You can actually just go to
the next slide.
Yeah. So this is next slide. And these are some of our key partnerships that helped us, actually be able to get the ball rolling with this amazing idea. So Rose can talk more about these partnerships.
Okay, great. So I think the people who we sort of met with that really invested in us from the very beginning was Smart Chicago Collaborative. And I think we're also on their channel right now. So shout out to Smart Chicago Collaborative for being our first sort of like seed funder, and also just providing us all types of support. Particularly, we're just finalizing contract negotiations for Twilio. So they're going to be supporting some of the ways in which we're making this form not just something that you can see online, but also something you can text and have a conversation with our forms about, and find your eligibility through that. And Ellie will talk to you about that in a little bit.
Oh, well, I was just going to mention that Twilio is an API that helps people just communicate through voice messaging, text messaging, so just in case you guys
It
didn't know
allows
those.
applications to integrate with SMS or voice,
Yeah.
so you could text essentially our program, and the program could send a reply back to a person who texted it. So it's a really great interactive way to do unique queries via text, and it's all automated, which is great. So
Cool.
Next slide.
And then just a few
sorry.
more partners. And so, and also the mayor's office. So we've worked primarily with the innovation delivery team. But like we said, they've been really instrumental in just making introductions for other folks who are resourceful in the city of Chicago. And we hope to even strengthen our relationships for the next step of mRelief. Also LAF, which I know you've seen Eileen here today, but they're really the subject matter experts. And I think something that's really important that we've thought about in being able to have a successful app is knowing what we should be focusing on right away, and knowing what there already exists so many resources, and perhaps we should delay in some ways focusing on every single thing. So policy is super complicated. And right now, there are certain things that we haven't completely built into the site. So for example, if you are undocumented right now, there is a way that when you come to mRelief, we'll actually connect you to one of the lawyers at LAF. Because we haven't built in all of the sort of Ruby functionality, but we can at least connect you to a person, their hours of operation, and the time in which they speak Spanish. And so our CTO Genevieve, who we miss so much, and I know she's going to be watching this video like, oh my God, I'm really pissed. But she has really been instrumental in making sure that by zip code, you are connected to the closest resource if you are undocumented right now and you come to our site and are looking for support. Also, in terms of being a student, students have really interesting complexities when you're in need of resources. And so she's also built in a lot of that functionality as well. And then it's really important to talk about Purple Binder, which we'd love for them to come up and just show a little bit under the hood. But they were also one of the first early partners that we established, where they pretty much had the game on lock in Chicago when it comes to local resources in the social services industry. And so I had a conversation with Joseph right in his office, and we just kind of chatted informally about just the importance of social services, and he was like, I like you. I like what you're doing, and it was we just kind of hit it off, and it seemed like just a natural partnership for us to work together and provide resources through Purple Binder's API that would enable people who didn't immediately sort of meet all the qualifications with respect to government benefits and resources to really find out what else is out there, because the social safety net with respect to nonprofits is much larger than what the government can offer, and we're doing that work through some of the awesome things that they're doing, and I'll ask them to please come up and speak to you for a few minutes about that. So next slide to set them up.
Thanks, Rose. So I'm going to keep it really short, but first let's have a round of applause for Emily, because what they're doing is awesome. Okay, so what's happening here? Someone tried to apply for benefits. Turns out they weren't eligible for benefits. So some results come up from our API where it tells someone who didn't qualify for food stamps that, okay, well, they can't get food stamp benefits, but there are a couple of food pantries near them. So what's happening is mRelief is hitting Purple Binder's API to get these results. So it returns the same results that anybody would get who's using our application. Now, this API was actually initially developed for the Chicago Health Atlas, which was a project of the Smart Chicago Collaborative. So I guess we're all part of the same Smart Chicago Collaborative family. They're really good at that, supporting that early innovation, as several people in this room can attest to. So the usual use case for a Purple Binder is a health center would use our app to connect a vulnerable patient with community services. So say, for instance, that there's a man who shows up in a hospital emergency room who's diabetic, and it turns out that he's also homeless, so he's probably not going to be able to manage his chronic condition that well. So the hospital would use Purple Binder to refer that guy into a transitional housing program, as well as perhaps a food pantry where he could get more nutritious food than he was getting on the street. So that's really it. I mean, I wish Rose and Genevieve and Marina and Ellie the best of luck. I think what you guys are doing is really awesome, and we're excited to support you in all of your steps going forward.
Thank you. Next slide. And so before we get into the next steps, I really want Ellie to also kind of pull the hood back on Twilio, just because I think that's one of the most exciting parts of mRelief right now, being able to service obviously a lot of the folks who will come in and access mRelief either through someone at a community service center, and soon also probably coming to a library near you, because social services are the #2 requests in Chicago's public libraries. But also, I think really being able to engage on one's cell phone is going to be really key. So if you could take that away, Ellie.
Cool. So yeah, Twilio, like I mentioned earlier, allows a computer program to interact with the user via text message or voice. In this case scenario, it would be text message. So I don't have a smartphone, let's imagine, and I got this number from, I don't know, maybe it's like an ad on the subway, like, you need food stamps, text this number. So it's someone who may not be able to have a smartphone. They text it, text hello to this number, and it asks you, do you want to look into your eligibility requirements for food stamps? And then if so, type food. And then you just begin the form process, simply laid out in a step-by-step text message process. It takes a couple minutes or less, and you get a text reply nearly instantly. Do we have the number that they could actually give it a shot?
It's right now. It's not a local Chicago number, so we want to wait until we transfer it over before we announce it to the internet.
Okay.
But yeah.
It does work, I assure you. I mean, I think it might be a good thing now that we have this audience to maybe, because we're having issues with the Android phone. We can do that after the presentation.
Well, if you have Android, hit us up. But yeah.
Yeah, so Rose might write the number up there, and you can see how it works. But it's great because we're actually emulating interacting with the site within the text message application. There's different states, so if anyone's technical, imagine you're texting a callback on our server, and it's managed through Twilio, and we set a session variable that's page, so essentially it tracks that unique conversation with that person, and it keeps track of where they are on our site. So it's actually a really unique way to access the site by text message. So.
Awesome. And so here's the number if you want to write it up there while I just kind of land our plane here and take some questions. So next step, so what's happening next? So as Ellie said, we're just finalizing Twilio for some of our community service programs. Of course, we've started with food stamps first. And she will shove the number up shortly so you can see how exactly we are managing eligibility for food stamps through text messaging today. And then we hope to do a JavaScript upgrade of our site, just because right now it's programmed primarily in Ruby on Rails. And there are some questions that are pretty much, some forms where pretty much in one question we could determine your eligibility. And so it would be really great to have that functionality to be able to upgrade our site, and that's something that's on its way. And then third, and Renee, I believe, is in the back. So Renee and
what do they text to this number? Like hello?
Just text anything actually. But it's well, you could text hello and then it'll return.
Text hello.
Or you could text mRelief so you remember.
Otherwise, it might blow up.
Okay. So
Hollywood.
So Renee's in the back, and he's been collaborating with us every single time that we come on mRelief Espanol, just because it's really important for us to build inclusion of so many different groups within the city of Chicago. So I don't know if you want to just say a little bit about mRelief Espanol and when.
While we're at it, we'll just demo it. So if you want, you could go to translate-mrelief.herokuac.com.
Okay.
And I got.
I was so caught up in hearing about the
It's okay.
I have a basic phone and I was like, I can text. This is great.
Okay. Well, while they do that, I'll just say the final major thing that's on our product roadmap is that we know that Chicago is an awesome pioneer of so many things. And we believe through at least some consultations and conversations with a lot of the developers at DataMade, as well as our own internal conversations, that we can pioneer a standardization of the process that we've gone through to actually create something that's friendly for users when it comes to eligibility. And so we've started some conversations with pretty large tech companies about social service feed specification. Some of you will recognize that terminology from the general transit feed specification, because that's sort of been able to power a lot of the genius behind Google Maps, and has made that value proposition strong enough for many cities to publish data in a standardized way about when cars come and buses come and things of that nature. And we believe that can happen for social services because it varies so tremendously across city and even within a state. So that's something that we're really going to be running after very fast, starting now, but primarily next year, and really thinking about cool ways that we can standardize this process and not have to sort of look through a mountain of actual physical papers as well as websites to be able to understand the eligibility requirements from year to year. So yeah, that's it. And we can, Renee will, I don't know if you want to go to mRelief Espanol before we go. Oh, well, okay, we can come back to that, but it's in progress and it's something that we are really passionate about, as well as the Polish version. And so again, here's our core team, and this is Genevieve's picture, even though she couldn't be here today. I know, but she's awesome. She has the most awesome personality, so she's missed. And so those are the roles that we're taking, and you can go to the next slide. Again, yeah, and so thank you. And I think the major thing is that we are currently in a huge campaign to raise funds for sort of our major fundraising round. We've done a lot of calculations, and we've come up with a figure that we feel like we need to really be able to turn this into something that's sustainable. And so we've started our Fundly campaign at $50,000 is at least the initial amount that we're trying to raise by November 21st. So we still have a long way to go. But of course, we're engaging in lots of different efforts like grant writing, as well as being able to pursue contracts internally within the city as well. So,
next.
Yeah. So, questions. Oh, wow. Okay, I'll start here.
Is this open source?
Yes. So
Okay.
mRelief _ scaffold. So it's a scaffolded version online.
What's the username?
Genevieve Nielsen. It's under her.
Okay, I should probably link that.
Okay, we can reply and make sure that that's
just
on
Oh, yes.
the session for folks who are interested.
Are all of the eligibility requirements for the programs you deal with, are those public? Are those published?
So, no. As of right now, it's not something that you can like look up in a data portal. A lot of it is a combination of actual sit-down meetings with LAF paralegals, as well as some of it can be sort of found through looking through, as a way a policy person might, through multiple different types of documentation in the DHS website. And some of it is really just like one person's piece of paper, or maybe like 10 people who have that like one piece of paper that we have to track down.
So you guys all handle the logic around, is this person eligible?
Yes.
Yeah.
So like the controller gets stuff from a database, like figures and ranges, and then just acts on that data based on the responses. So it's all, we had to essentially build the logic. So that's why that standardization of the different form data, like if submit it in this format, we'll put it up on here. If you standardize that, it would be a lot easier to like aggregate all this stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Can I ask like 30 questions?
Answers.
Let's have a conversation.
Yeah, I mean, you can ask a few now at least.
I like your sweater. Nice
Yeah, it's
polka
really
Yeah. They'll get real specific and long. I'm approaching from the other side of eligible non-participation with people who don't consider themselves, they don't conceive of themselves being eligible. They don't identify themselves as poor, and how to, I don't know, and give people a rational view of their financial state so they can make rational financial decisions.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, I hope so. But it's a lot of stuff.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So I think, so just in being like fully transparent about the fact that mRelief is a few months old, I think our very first target, being honest with our approach, is talking about first-time applicants who are coming to the site. And we don't want to disillusion people who maybe made that first step, because I do think at least some of the research on this, I think sometimes discounts that people technically haven't been processed in the system yet, but they probably have at least made that initial step by just going to the office. And because it just looked like the line was too long and it looked like it was just a maze, they never actually fully processed within the system. So I think, at least for us, we're trying not to disillusion that person who comes for the first time, so that they can actually get a clear sense of how they qualify. So, is there?
I would just love to sit down and have a go.
Okay. Okay. All right, we will do that. Okay.
Me?
Steve? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Steven.
Are there any social services that you wanted to have at launch, but you haven't launched with them?
Definitely.
And like maybe you started and you progressed a bit, but like it just got too complicated. Which ones are those?
There's so many. I mean, to be totally honest.
Also, we wanted to kind of make it an easier process when you got to the page of everything you could qualify for. We wanted it to be separated between like the city and the suburbs. So that was kind of a challenge that we are going to keep working towards. And we also did an all programs page where you could just enter your information through all these questions, and then the results page spits out all the ones that you do qualify for, don't qualify for, and possibly qualify for. Right. So those kind of are a solution around some of the challenges that we faced with the ones we couldn't do.
Yeah, and then also, Happy Veterans Day to the veterans in the room. I know that we did sort of have in our product roadmap something more specific around VA benefits, for example. And that was something that, we took just, had that sort of toe in the water look at what are some of the eligibility requirements here, and thought that we really do need an extended timeline to look deeper into that. So that's an example. I think that's a really great example of programs. And I think we're slowly unfolding it, I think, based on where we know we'll have the local support to have so many like different resources and referrals for a specific issue that someone's facing. But I think we really started sort of with the big blocks first, like the biggest programs and where there were the biggest problems. So I think I feel, and I feel like I'm speaking for the team here too, that just getting food stamps and rental assistance were like really huge victories. And although we've already programmed maybe 17 forms, we have about, I think, 10 or 12 live on the site because we really feel like the other forms, we want to put more work and effort into them.
But also it's a good place to have somebody go and be like, oh, I want to see if I qualify for food stamps, but then they see all these other programs that they were like, oh, wow, I could possibly qualify for this. This is great. So it's definitely something that we're going to keep working towards.
Have you built the site for people with disabilities? Or sometimes the site, it can be read by,
Yeah, the site is visually accessible. It also should work for the hearing impaired. So is definitely, that was, to have everything big, to have everything be clear.
And I'm pretty sure for people who are visually impaired, it's accessible with voice readers or screen
with the screen readers. Yeah.
Although, I mean, I do think we're still trying to build in more and more disability specific programs, though. And so that's sort of going to be along our journey.
Along those lines, do you have any plans to accommodate weak literacy skills with voice, little audio clips like the mouse over the...
So, I mean, I think we've already started to look into the tools. Like before mRelief, I sort of had a past in sexual health education. And I think they've been doing a lot of that industry. There's so much in that industry around 5th grade reading level, just so parents and kids can communicate honestly and effectively about sexual health. So we've started to look at maybe some kind of timeline around integrating full 5th grade literacy, though it's challenging because, I mean, some of the actual like technical terms, it's sort of this balance of, is this now incorrect because we're using this new term that's more easily accessible, but not quite precise about what the government's eligibility requirement is.
Yeah, I was just thinking audio to go along with your written text.
So I think
like a screen reader.
Or just like a recording where you can press explain or just play back what they read.
That's interesting. Like that could definitely be something put into the future. We tried to have the language be very clear and understandable and have like tool tips and stuff. And we also have a feedback page. So if somebody doesn't understand like something, they can easily get a hold of us. But that's a great idea. I didn't think about that.
I saw that Medicare cost sharing on there. I was wondering what program you're looking at specifically when you're talking about that, because there are a bunch of different programs, like Medicare savings programs. So I'm wondering if your form like goes to several of those programs, or if it's for one specifically.
So there's one specific program that comes under sort of Illinois' provision that we're looking at with Medicare cost sharing. I cannot recall the exact acronym.
Was it QMB?
QMB.
Qualified Medicare Beneficiary.
Yes. Okay. And so that's the specific program we're referencing there, and that's sort of more or less a supplementary program. But sort of in the post Affordable Care Act world, there's so many like awesome provisions, which I mean, at some point when I get a little bit of time, I really do want to write an article about just how I've been able to see the awesomeness of the Affordable Care Act through being able to look at eligibility, because it really sort of is this rule that trumps everything that allows for so many people to get health care. So aside from just maybe what people might be hearing about the law, there's some really awesome things that have been done in terms of making it eligibility friendly, if you will.
Would you like to write for it on my health
map? We can talk about this after, but definitely something to consider. Any?
So this just tells someone if they're eligible for these services?
Yes.
Are there any plans to, I'm sure this is a little forward looking, but like be the TurboTax of like
That's awesome.
you know, like social services, like actually apply for them automatically?
I mean, if we
Awesome,
get that,
like they finish, they
That'd
say
be
you're eligible, you
sweet.
sit.
if we
Like,
get
The,
that
the
standard,
enrollment, you point them to the Medicare or the food stamp site. Is that what happens?
So that's in the case of food stamps, where there actually is an online application that you can physically go to. For certain programs like rental assistance, like there's no way of avoiding the orientation that's required for that program right now, right? And
You have
so
to go.
it could change.
it could change.
Yeah.
It could change. So I think that we're sort
Next
of in this.
health.gov.
We're in this interesting sort of phase of like trying to build out how much we're going to be able to do based on just the law itself. But I definitely think we have some hopes around not just obviously eligibility determination, but eligibility estimation, right? So how much do you qualify for, right? So I think we're taking this step by step and really all like just followers of agile development and like make sure it works. Okay, it works today, right? Let's tweak something small. Okay.
So you're not giving this presentation to yourself?
Hopefully, yeah, that'd be great.
Yes.
Depending on the content you're collecting, there could be like a pre-certification aspect, like they're given a value and then it can save time in the initial processing.
Like
Right.
cars.com or auto.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I was one thing like medical pre-certification, but you talk to a representative, you're given a number, you bring it in, and then your details are already prepared.
Yeah, I definitely think so, and I think insofar as at least the way it's technically currently working for caseworkers at King, that's definitely the case. And the city has at least been very optimistic so far and feel like there's lots of potential around this being able to be streamlined, not just at King, but the 5 remaining community service centers as well. But that's definitely an awesome way of framing it as well.
Yeah.
Is there anything, after somebody's been given an eligibility determination on this, are there any instructions in terms of documentation to bring in? Because let's say they're choosing to go to the DHS office after this to apply. Is there anything at the end of that prompts them, hey, these are the different things you're going to have to bring in to show that your income is this, or to demonstrate that this is true?
Yes. So in the context of rental assistance, just because of the significantly high rejection rate for people who kind of looked at it and thought, oh yeah, I qualify and I should go in. And of course the required orientation, we have said if you cannot, in the case, for example, if you're a survivor of domestic violence, you have to be able to prove that by filing a report against your abuser and coming in with a police report or an order of protection, for example. So we do say to people outright that unless you have this, or a notarized form if you've been evicted, or are facing a notice of eviction rather. So that's something that we have said for rental assistance, but I think we're still sort of on the product roadmap thinking about how we're going to streamline that in for other forms where that hasn't been the largest pain point just yet around applications.
Yeah. I think with mRelief, our initial goal, our first initial goal was to help people know if they qualify or not. And then just, even having all this feedback could just be iteration after iteration and addition after addition to help people really not be frustrated with the system. So, if there's a whole page on the website of what you need to bring per program, that's somewhere in the future.
One thing we're toying with, but we haven't implemented yet because we want to make sure we're doing it legally and everything, is actually storing the results and then being able to provide analytics to to the government and see how in different agencies how many people are applying, what the results are, and it'd be non-identifying information, but just an aggregate of just all the statistics and stuff in a nice pretty analytics dashboard. So
yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think maybe it's time to move on to the next thing, but continue the conversation afterwards.
Yes.
Thanks everybody for